Welcome, wisdom seekers. If you've ever thought that the dynamics between strong personalities are just about who can shout the loudest or lead the biggest group, think again. Today, we're diving into something far more subtle, something that happens beneath the surface, away from public view. The quiet but intense rivalry between alpha and sigma females represents one of the most psychologically complex and under-examined power dynamics in human relationships. This isn't merely a clash of personalities. It's a fundamental collision of worldviews, a battle between two diametrically opposed approaches to power, validation, and self-concept that reveals deep truths about human nature and social structures. The foundation of the rivalry. Two opposing power systems. At the heart of this tension lies a fundamental difference in how these archetypes derive their sense of worth and influence. Alpha females operate within what psychologists call extrinsic validation systems. Their confidence, identity, and sense of power are inextricably tied to external hierarchies. They thrive in structured environments where status is clearly defined and earned through visible dominance. This need for hierarchical positioning stems from evolutionary psychology. In ancestral human groups, alpha traits, assertiveness, social intelligence, and competitive drive were advantageous for securing resources and leadership roles. Modern alpha females carry this legacy, instinctively seeking to establish and maintain their position at the top of whatever social or professional pyramid they inhabit. Sigma females, by contrast, represent what clinical psychologists describe as autonomous self-definition. Their confidence emerges from an internal locus of control, making them remarkably resistant to social pressures. Brain scan studies show that individuals with sigma-like traits exhibit different neural activation patterns in response to social rejection. Their amygdala, the brain's threat detector, shows less reactivity, while their prefrontal cortex, associated with rational decision-making, remains highly engaged. This neurological wiring allows sigmas to remain emotionally detached from status games that would trigger anxiety or competitiveness in others. The alpha's dilemma, when dominance meets indifference. The alpha female's frustration with her sigma counterpart stems from what social scientists call expectation violation theory. In any interaction, humans subconsciously predict how others will respond based on social scripts. Alpha females, accustomed to deference or competition from others, find the sigma's indifference deeply disorienting. Consider a workplace scenario. An alpha department head holds a team meeting to assert her vision. She expects either enthusiastic agreement or respectful debate, both responses that reinforce her authority. But when the sigma team member listens quietly, then later implements her own, often superior solution without seeking approval, it triggers cognitive dissonance in the alpha. The sigma hasn't openly challenged her, but by bypassing the expected power dynamic altogether, she's undermined the alpha's sense of control. This creates what psychologists term ego depletion. The alpha expends mental energy trying to categorize a threat that won't conform to known patterns. Unlike dealing with a direct challenger, which would activate clear competitive instincts, the sigma's passive resistance leaves the alpha in a state of unresolved tension. The power of silent influence. Why sigma's leadership threatens research. In organizational psychology reveals a fascinating paradox. While alpha leaders excel in crisis situations requiring decisive action, sigma traits, independence, quiet confidence, and intrinsic motivation, prove more effective in creative fields and long-term strategic roles. This explains why alpha females often feel particularly threatened in intellectual or artistic environments where traditional dominance displays fall flat. A telling example emerges from academia. An alpha female professor dominates department meetings, controlling discussion flow and expecting her ideas to carry weight. Meanwhile, her Sigma colleague publishes groundbreaking research with minimal self-promotion, earning respect through pure intellectual merit. The alpha's attempts to undermine the Sigma's work through gossip or administrative maneuvering backfire because the Sigma's reputation isn't dependent on departmental politics. This demonstrates what management theorists call expert power versus positional power. The Sigma's influence persists regardless of formal hierarchy. The social mirror effect, why Sigma's authenticity. Sting's neuroscientific research shows that encountering someone with unshakable self-confidence triggers subconscious comparisons in observers. For alpha females, whose self-worth is carefully constructed through social feedback, the Sigma's effortless authenticity acts like a mirror exposing their own insecurities. This phenomenon explains why alpha females often engage in what psychologists call narcissistic injury response when dealing with Sigmas, a classic manifestation. At a social gathering, an alpha meticulously curates her appearance and conversation to impress. The Sigma arrives casually dressed, engages only when interested, and leaves early without apology. The alpha's subsequent gossip, she's so antisocial, masks a deeper discomfort. The Sigma's behavior demonstrates a freedom from social approval that the alpha secretly envies but can't admit to wanting. The control paradox, why alphas can't. Comprehend Sigma independence attachment theory provides crucial insight here. Many alpha females develop their dominant styles as adaptive responses to childhood environments where affection was conditional on achievement. This creates what psychologists term anxious leadership, a constant need to prove worth through control. Sigmas, by contrast, often have attachment histories that fostered secure autonomy. Their independence isn't rebellion, it's simply their natural state. This fundamental difference manifests starkly in group dynamics. When an alpha plans an elaborate girls' trip requiring strict schedules, the Sigma's last-minute cancellation, "I need alone time," isn't personal rejection, but to the alpha, it feels like a direct challenge to her authority as social organizer. The Sigma's ability to opt out at will highlights the alpha's own unacknowledged constraints. She couldn't imagine skipping an event she planned without damaging her social standing. The reputation economy. Why Sigma's disinterest feels like. Theft social capital theory helps explain why alpha females perceive Sigma indifference as offensive. In the reputation economy where alphas thrive, attention equals currency. When someone refuses to spend attention on them through admiration, competition, or even envy, it registers as an economic threat. A revealing case study emerges from social media dynamics. An alpha influencer posts carefully curated content expecting engagement. The Sigma peer uses platforms sporadically, sharing niche interests without seeking validation. The alpha's frustration, "Why don't they acknowledge my posts?" stems from a zero-sum mindset. She can't comprehend that the Sigma genuinely doesn't care about these metrics. This creates what behavioral economists call value dissonance. The Sigma's refusal to participate devalues the entire game the alpha has invested in. The psychological shadow. What alpha resentment reveals, Jungian analysts would describe the Sigma as representing the alpha's shadow self, the repressed parts of her psyche that yearn for true independence. This explains the peculiar intensity of alpha hostility. It's not just annoyance with a rival, but existential discomfort with what the Sigma represents. In therapeutic settings, we see this dynamic play out. When alpha female clients discuss Sigma colleagues, their language reveals projection. She thinks she's better than everyone. That actually reflects their own unacknowledged superiority complexes. The difference? The alpha needs others to validate her specialness, while the Sigma simply knows it without external confirmation. This creates what psychoanalysts term narcissistic mortification. The Sigma's existence proves the alpha's entire validation system is optional. The evolutionary mismatch. Why modern society amplifies this clash in anthropological perspectives. Shed light on why this tension has intensified in contemporary culture.
Traditional societies had clearer roles for both archetypes. Alphas as visible leaders, Sigmas as shamans or independent crafters. Modern fluid social structures force them into direct competition. Corporate environments provide perfect examples. In Nye,
Traditional companies, alpha females thrived in clear hierarchies. But in today's flatter organizations emphasizing quiet leadership and authenticity, Sigma traits gain unexpected advantage. This explains why alpha females in tech startups often struggle more than in investment banks. The very systems are evolving beyond their dominant strategies. The future of this dynamic. Will one archetype prevail? Emerging research suggests we're entering a Sigma shift in leadership preferences. Studies show millennials and Gen Z prefer low-key confidence over traditional alpha dominance. But evolutionary psychologists caution that alpha traits remain advantageous in high-stakes competitive environments. The healthiest resolution may come from integration. Alphas learning Sigma-like self-validation. Sigmas adopting strategic alpha skills when beneficial. But for now, this remains one of human psychology's most charged and illuminating rivalries. A perfect storm of nature, nurture, and the eternal human struggle between belonging and individuality.